Salute, Knicks Nation. Welcome in. The streets are buzzing. I'm joined by Benjy, a Knicks season ticket holder, diehard Knicks fan tonight. And we've got a lot to talk about as the Knicks start 2-0. We're going to get some fresh impressions as Benjy is in the building and got to see the action last night. And of course, his takes as well as the chat. Salute to the chat and the replay squad. Smash that like button. We've all got the Knicks streets buzzing. It's an exciting start to this season, and I can't wait to talk to Benjy about what he's seen so far. Benjy, how you doing? Great to see you.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, CT. Love the show. I think your analysis is so spot on. All the Huck Porty stuff that you've had from weeks ago and leading up to this to preseason has been great. Love your show with Berman, Bill Pito. Love everything you do, and I'm greatly appreciative to be on here.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that. And it's great to have you on and talk about what you've seen so far. And also, we'll bounce off the chat like we do. This is an interactive show. But yeah, it's exciting. How are you feeling about this season so far? The anticipation. You live in the city. It's been a combination since Leon Rose took over to get to where we are. I mean, how you've just seen the sort of rebuild under Leon Rose to this present day.
Yeah, I think you really feel and you get a sense of how excited people are for the season. It's almost like we're used to just being down and having no expectations for all those dark years in the mid 2000s, mid to late 2000s. Now I think everybody's sort of got a little bit of swag. They're a little bit confident. Like, okay, the Knicks are going to be good. The Knicks are going to be really good. Like, this is no joke. I think we were already at that level before the trade for Karl Anthony Towns, and then once we made that deal and everybody got over the initial like shock of losing my paisan Dante DiVincenzo, who I love dearly. We'll always love him. He'll get a huge ovation for me when the Timberwolves are at the Garden, as well for Julius. I think the cat move, now that everybody's seeing him on the floor and the spacing and the way the offense looks early for the first two preseason games, I think you're seeing just how dynamic and how many weapons we have on our offense here. It's I think we've played really obviously we played a weak team last night in Washington. They're, probably one of the worst 5 or 6 teams in the league. But what I've really liked so far is the turnovers have been very low. We're averaging 9 turnovers a game in the first 2 games. We had 8 last night. We had 16 steals, so we were very active defensively. The shooting last night wasn't good from three. Like early on, Cat missed, I think, his first 6 threes. He was all over the place, but once he got into a nice flow and he took over in the third quarter and had 16 points. So I think I really like the spacing, and I know people have alluded to this, and I like the defensive activity. You saw Bridges all over the place last night on defense with steals. You saw OG, although offensively he didn't really contribute much. He only had 4 points. He was really active defensively. He had a couple plays where he dove on the floor and got some steals. So I was really excited about that. I think one of the things that is not really being focused on now, I think with these additions that we've made with Bridges and Cat, and the fact that now Mitch isn't going to be playing until January, that's like official word. I think we're going to see an uptick in. I know this doesn't seem like a huge deal, but we know it's a big deal when it comes down to it in tight games. I think the free throw percentage as a team is going to get significantly higher. You're bringing in Cat. I think he's about 84, 85% for his career, and the same goes for Bridges. So I think with those two guys, Julius exiting and Mitch not playing as much of a factor, obviously for the first half of the season until January, I think our team free throw percentage, which typically I think we're one of the worst teams, I think is going to be really high, maybe high 70s. So I think that'll be key and come into play because we have a lot of good free throw shooters now, and we also have a lot of good 3-point shooters, right? Landry Shamet, who's likely to make the team, is a career, 38% 3-point shooter. And obviously Bridges is, even though he's not like a knockdown shooter, he's a 38% career 3-point shooter. So I think I think our efficiency overall is going to go way up on offense. Might lose a little bit of that grit that Hart brought. Obviously, like he brought so many intangibles, diving on the floor and all that type of stuff. but I think it's worth it because our offense just has so many possibilities. And one of the last takeaways I would say is I think the biggest drop off you might see from an offensive standpoint is going to be from Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart, just if last night's any indication, he wasn't really looking for his offense last night. He wasn't even really looking to shoot. He only took 2 shots, but he was still very active. He had 6 rebounds, I think 5 assists. He was still getting the rebounds, pushing the ball in transition. So I think that's one thing that I foresee happening. But I think Hart's okay with that. I think Hart's okay with taking a back seat. Right, we have so many options now on offense. Um, and then the last piece, and we were discussing this before we kicked off. Ariel Hukporti, to me, even though I've only seen him play in one preseason game, to me, he looks like a better player than Jericho Sims just by virtue of having post moves, having more size, being close to 7 feet. And his defensive instincts seem to be very good from what I can tell. And just from what you've reported on him previously from scouting him, I think that was a steal of a 58th pick because this kid looks like he is ready to contribute. So I'm really, really pleased. I plead to you, Tom Thibodeau, to rest our players in the final preseason game against Washington on October 18th. That would be my my one wish.
Yeah, man. Glad to hear your thoughts on it, and what do you guys think? Chat as well, on soft chat, and a lot of fans are high on what they saw from Huck 40, definitely. And obviously, you won't see any surprise from me because I've talked about it for a while, and I think it's just a tribute to our front office, and I think it has to start with their Benji in regards to the scouting, because that's where the work is done. And Huck Bordy's not a name that was new to draft scouts. He's 22, and he's been in the draft cycle for multiple years, playing pro overseas. He tore his Achilles, which did set his career back 1 year. So, by all means, he would have got drafted, a year ago as well, and probably may not even fall into the New York Knicks. So we did catch a break there as well. But that is one steal out of many that we continue to grab. Tyler Kolek being another one. Um, and we'll talk about some news later in tonight's show, guys, that's going through. I will cover the latest, but obviously there was a report that Pacome Dadier was set to play, but he had a finger injury, so we have to wait to see his debut. Kevin McCullough is still rehabilitating, so it does seem like if they're going to convert one player, I mean, Huck Porty did make a hell of a case last night. Um, how was his game, live in person in terms of setting the screens, and also, do you feel like he's a guy? Because Tibbs actually said after the game that he played terrific, gave him some high praise as well. The rebounding is there as well. A lot of fans like to see him together with Precious Achua and play with a little bit more size. What's your takeaway on playing big and small?
Yeah, I think as far as like how Huck Porty moves, he was very positionally sound. My friend Doug, who went to the game with me last night, mentioned to me that when Huck Porty was in the game, he didn't see really anybody trying to drive to the basket. So he seems to be a very sound defender, and he's good on the I don't know how you say it on the drop where he's defending on the drop, but he's kind of backing up. He seemed to really know what he's doing out there, and he had very active hands as well. We've got some steals. Obviously, had a couple putback dunks. I think he did one up and under move for me, which kind of sold me on the fact that he has more offensive game than Jericho Sims because I've never seen Jericho Sims do anything outside of catch a lob and dunk it. Although I would say the most impressive move I've seen Jericho Sims make was against Utah in a regular season game last season. He drove. I think it was on Walker Kessler. He went on the baseline and then took one dribble, went on the baseline, and threw down a dunk. But outside of that, I don't think I've ever seen Jericho Sims do anything that wasn't like a lob or a simple putback dunk. So Huck Porty to me showed that he is very fundamentally sound, and he gave me a lot of confidence that he can step in and give us like backup center minutes if we need. And again, granted, it was against Washington, a bottom of the barrel team. The stakes are low given preseason, but I was confident with him. And then also, I failed to mention Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek he looks more than ready, right? He has scored 14 points in the first game against Charlotte, and I think he had 15 points last night and 5 assists. So Kolek looks like he's ready to step in as well. And I think what speaks volumes about the team where we are now is we have so much depth that I don't think Kolek's going to play right away. I think Campaign, who was very good last night, he had 4 threes. I think he will be the backup point guard. But Kolek, I think if there's any injuries to any guards, I think Kolek will get a chance. So Kolek is really impressive. He almost runs a pick and roll to like scientific perfection. Like it's absolutely picture perfect. It's everything you would see in like a basketball video. It's absolutely perfect, and he can shoot a little bit, and he's got some confidence, and he's got some toughness. So our rookies so far, both second round picks, been really impressive. I'm not expecting to see much from Kevin McCullough Jr., which is fine because we're not really lacking we're not in need of a player at that position. And then Dadier is going to be, I think, back and forth to Westchester, which is fine as well. Let him develop, let him see the game, and he can play some, garbage time minutes as well. So, I mean, I think it's been a masterful job that Leon Rose has done outside of the obvious trades. You were talking about just what he's done as well. I think when we were all watching the draft, we were thinking to ourselves, remember when the Knicks made all those trades? They had multiple first round picks, and then they traded them to get one first round pick, and then made trades of second rounders and traded 2 second rounders to get like another second rounder. So they did all this these chess moves, and we ended up with 4 picks, I believe. So I mean, it's just been amazing. We finally have depth. Last season, if you look at it, we had Daquan Jeffries, Dwayne Washington Jr., Charlie Brown Jr., and those were the guys that we would have to turn to, and we actually had to turn to in a game against Dallas after the day that we made the Bogdanovich trade. Those guys were forced to play, Jacob Toppin as well. So now we're in a position, if God forbid, knock on wood, we have any major injuries, we have Campaign can step in and start, or Kolek can play major minutes at the backup, or Huck Porty can play backup, and Precious can start. Like, we have the reinforcements, we have a lot of depth, and I mean, this is. I mean, I hate making win predictions, but I would say I feel confident that we can win 56 games. I feel good about that.
No doubt. I echo. I agree, man. I think health permitting, obviously, that's the caveat. But we can play so many different ways. We've got experience, playmaking. We've got the shooting. Looks like some big depth has been answered a little bit in terms of some healthy competition. We have Moses Brown on a camp deal. We've obviously got the draft rights to that young center for the future as well. But it looks like Huck Porty might be able to give us, rotation minutes this season, which I felt like from the get go. But I was careful not to go out on a limb, in case, because I still respect the NBA game to a degree where I felt Huck Porty was ready based on what my eyes told me live in person. But you just never know until he steps it up against other NBA players. You know what I mean? And just respect the body of work that it takes to get to that level. But he looks faster from what we saw in summer league. He looks like he's got into the Tibbs system better, which what I expected in terms of the night after he was drafted, he hit the practice facility with Kolek, Dadier, and McCullough and those guys. So you could see the chemistry with Kolek. It looks like they've been practicing for a while. You know what I mean? Was with Jericho, he looks bigger. He definitely had a really good first game with rebounding, got 5 offensive boards. He looks stronger on the block. He just doesn't. I don't know if he moves as well defensively. And he's also, yeah, I think this counts against Jericho, and I don't think it's his fault. But he's 6'10", so he's 6'10", and he's not the longest guy with in terms of wingspan. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe being a limitation.
Yeah, I don't think he doesn't seem to have great defensive instincts either. You see a lot of times when a guy will go up in the lane, he'll jump over him and get upsided. Like, he just doesn't seem to have a great feel for the game. Where I will give credit to Jericho is he always stays ready. He's started 32 games for us so far in his career, and a lot of times he has to be an emergency starter at center. And there have been long stretches of time when he's had to be the starting center, and he's really done a pretty admirable job. The fact is, he's just very limited. He doesn't tend to feel confident around the basket. So when he catches it in the paint, he immediately thinks to dump it out. And I think the major difference you're going to see with Huck Porty, granted it's only been one preseason game, I think if he gets it in the middle, he has a little lefty jumper he can flip up, a little lefty hook shot, right? You've scouted him, so you know that he has that, and I've seen him do that even in summer league. So I think Sims's feel for the game isn't great. He just, he's a good kid. He works hard. Very quiet kid. Doesn't really seem to say a lot. And I think at the end of the day, he's been a good pick in the sense that he was the 58th pick in the draft, and he's now playing his fourth NBA season. So the fact that he's even in the league at this stage, I think, is a testament to him. And we got value out of that, right? He's making like $1 million a year. So I think that's valuable.
100%. I think to get to where you've been that far, this is the 58th pick. It's been a win in terms of getting service out of him, and it's up to him to make that big leap this season. But yeah, you're right. He's been prepared when his number's been called, and I think he's just been fine as a third string backup, center. Um, the clear difference is, and we need to see more with Huck Bordy. I'm once again still tempering expectations, but there's a 4 year gap. There's a 4 year difference in age, with Huck Bordy 22 and Jericho Sims 26. But one key difference, guys, is that and some people came sort of with some arguments early on when I had Huck Porty as potentially rotation minutes. Their argument was, hey, don't disrespect Sims. He's, been a pro for multiple years. Huck Porty's a rookie. But what the average Knick fan might not have known is that Huck Porty had played 4 years pro already before being drafted. So if you compare years of pro experience, Sims with 4 years in the NBA, Huck Porty 4 years in other leagues, but the same amount of years as a pro, but also a 4 year difference in age. So if you're draft scouting, you're always looking at age in terms of, has this guy got more? Has he got a higher ceiling? He's got 4 years to pop, kind of thing. And also in his teams in the NBL, in the 3 years that he was in the NBL, the first year he went to the finals. He played it. His team was a finalist. He was the backup center on a professional team that was the finalist. The second year he tore his Achilles and he missed the entire year. And then the second year, the third final year in the NBL, his team made the finals again. So out of the 2 main years of playing pro, he had the experience of playing in the finals. So if that doesn't prepare you for at least backup NBA minutes, then I would have been surprised.
Did Huck Porty, because I'm just obviously don't follow this as closely, but did he play major minutes on those teams that went to the finals? Like how much of the game was he playing?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a key part. So it's key to note that the games are 40 minutes, so they're FIBA shortened style, but he was playing at least 13 to 16 minutes, something like that. And sometimes he would be the preferred sort of player that played a little bit more. It was kind of a center by platoon uh, kind of thing, where the starting center had the slight edge, but Huck Porty was young, still developing, so they had him as the backup. Um, but yeah, many times he would play for prolonged stretches. He would have bigger games than others. But I guess the rebounding, just the floor is a lot higher with Huck Porty in terms of he's a brute force down low. He'll snatch a rebound off somebody, basically like you all know the Zion
Mm,
video, the viral video where he snatched it from Kevin Knox, right?
yeah.
Huck Porty's that kind of guy where he'll just snatch a rebound from someone just because he's so strong. Um, Look, Jericho Sims is very strong as well. It'll be interesting to see how the battle plays out because look, Tibbs will still temper expectations, I feel, with some rookies. But I made this example last night is that remember when Evan Fournier was stinking up the joint and he replaced him with Grimes? Remember when Grimes had the starting shot, but Dante ended up taking over? So he will make a switch up, I think, if it's necessary. He did the same with Kemba Walker as well. So I have confidence in Tibbs that he'll make the change, even if it is a rookie. But if he's out playing somebody in practice, I think it'll happen. What do you think?
Yeah, I think if we see more, if we see him Huck Porty play another strong game on Sunday against the Timberwolves, I think that only builds more confidence. And sometimes these things have a way of working themselves out, right? If Jericho Sims is hobbled by an ankle injury and isn't ready, that'll make the decision a little easier for Tibbs in terms of the depth chart. Little do you know, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar, but I'm one of the rare. I was a big Evan Fournier fan. From a personality standpoint, I know it didn't obviously worked out horribly here. I really liked his game, man. I was sad to see him get dealt, and it was a rough patch for him here. But yeah, I think Huck Porty is one of the more intriguing guys to watch for preseason, just because obviously we know what we have in our starting five pretty much. I think it's really just been getting them acclimated and seeing how the spacing looks. And to me, the spacing has really been the biggest takeaway in terms of how things look. I think Cat is a very good screen setter. And that's, how many times do we see Brunson going one on one and he can always get around his men or multiple guys, but um, now he's got a big guy that can create more space for him that he has an opportunity to run and pick and roll with. And I think we saw a lot of good things last night. And as long as we stay healthy, man, we're going to be a real challenge for anybody. And I think any weaker teams that step into the Garden, I think we're gonna obliterate them on a nightly basis, just based on how much firepower I think we would have done that anyway, even with last year's team. But I think now with how much firepower we just have too much scoring. There's really nowhere where to defend. I will say that to start the season, the schedule's a bit tough. We have 7 of the first 10 on the road. We're in Boston, to start the season. We're in Philly. We're in Miami. We also play the Bucks early on, so it's not going to be easy out of the gate. So I think just kind of getting off to a reasonable start, no worse than 6-4 or 7-3 would be ideal for us to really take off. And then they have a West Coast trip, I think in November. So similar to last year, a very road heavy schedule, which is good in a way because you get the tougher road trips out of the way, and then that sets it up for a lot of home games for the second half of the season.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it's good to start the season under fire, I feel, because you'll learn a lot about yourself, you'll learn a lot about the team, but Tibbs will have these guys ready. I think they all know that it's championship dreams in this one. And you could see the vibes, man. It's just how fun was it being in the Garden? What were some observations that you could share that we may not have seen, by not being there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a preseason game, so it wasn't a raucous crowd, but people were still really, really excited, man. It was almost like they kind of got bored because we were just pounding Washington so hard the whole night, and we're also so used to just seeing Brunson come down the court and hit a jump shot easily and calmly that it doesn't surprise us, right? I think you said it on one of your previous shows, like there's really nothing Brunson at this point. It's like you expect him to be impeccable. So when he comes down the court and makes an amazing play, you almost can't react to it because it's like you expect it. So yeah, I mean the vibes are great so far. Everybody, knock on wood, is healthy. The expectations are incredibly high, and yeah, I think it'll be. Look, if we come out opening night, I don't want to put this out there, but if we come out opening night and we're not up to par and we have a bad game, that will immediately shift things, knowing the Knicks fan base, and we'll all be talking about, oh yeah, we didn't get enough, and Cat's soft, and you know our defense got worse because we traded Dante or whatever it is. But look, I think we have an amazing product. I think the Garden is feeling that, and the best part about all of it, as everybody knows, is it's a 4 to 5 year window with the core of our team all signed, with the exception of Mikal Bridges. I imagine will ultimately get an extension next summer. So this is sustainable. This is all guys 27, 28, 29 that, they're signed long term. So we know they're going another 4, 5 years and they're in the prime, right? Right now they're in their prime. There's no like old aging players that or veterans. I mean, last year we had Alec Burks, and that was felt weird because he was like the old, like 33-year-old veteran, and we don't even have that right now. I think if TJ Warren sticks, which is unlikely at this point, he would be like our veteran. So yeah, I think it's just like we're just getting started, and all these preseason games are like the appetizer before the appetizer. So yeah, I just can't wait to get this thing going.
Yeah, I think that guys, the best thing I feel about this team moving forward, I think the NBA, the current day NBA, and the way that the teams are winning, like Boston, I think it suits exactly what we have, and I think Leon Rose understands that with the spacing, but also there's not exactly, toughness in terms of, a lot of enforcers and big men that dominate. You sort of feel like the way we're ready to play is offensive minded now, and it's kind of weird because we've got Tibbs, but he'll get the best out of our wing. The wing stop guys, and our defense, man, 9 steals at the half last night, and I mean turning them over 30 times was just a preview of what's to come. And yes, it was a bad Washington, but you can only bust who's in front of you. But in terms of like the way we're going to play, I think we're going to be like a better version of like Indiana's offense last season. Because Brunson's better than Halliburton. He's got the pick and roll deadly threat now. We've got more shooters around, and the way Boston won, like I don't really feel like Brown and Tatum are those strong arm tough guys either. You can get them sort of frustrated, and you could get them turning the ball over like Indiana did. So I feel like we're a real dangerous matchup for all those teams, in the top of the East. How do you feel about the East?
Yeah, look, I mean, Philly, made a lot of good deals getting Paul George. They also got some smaller pieces, right? They got Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond. I mean, they're an older team, but yeah, anytime you have Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Joel Embiid sharing the floor in crunch time, that's definitely a reason to be worried about, shot making. So yes, they worry me, the Sixers, but I will say that they're old, so and they have a lot of injury issues between Paul George and Joel Embiid. Um, so I worry about them. Obviously, Boston, them having the dynamic duo, Brown and Tatum. Although Tatum, it'll be interesting to see how he rebounds in the whole Olympics thing. Even though I think that it's probably not going to have that much of an effect on him. Um, and the fact that Al Horford retired and KP is injured, for much of the season, I think is going to be, something for them to watch as well. So yeah, I'm definitely a little bit worried about those two teams. Indiana, I think, is just a really smart, good team with a lot of good two-way players. So yeah, I'm less worried about them. Be interesting to see because I haven't really taken a look at what moves that they made on the roster outside of just their like usual, just their regular core that we dealt with in the playoffs last season. I know they locked up T.J. McConnell, and they have the same guys, Miles Turner, etc. But yeah, I mean, obviously those are the teams to watch. There's some up and coming teams like Orlando. Obviously, you don't have to worry about Washington. You don't have to worry about Charlotte. Miami, I think you should see hopefully a drop off with them, just based on the fact that Jimmy Butler is just another year older. They don't have as much depth there, and we kind of saw them start to not be as potent last season. But yeah, Milwaukee. For some reason, Milwaukee doesn't scare me. Maybe it's just like because like their defense isn't good or something. I don't know. They don't scare me as much as Philly and Boston do. So yeah, I think the big issues are Philly and Boston. And anytime, as we saw last season in the playoffs, when you're facing Embiid in a high stakes situation, one of the more stressful things you can deal with because he becomes unstoppable. So
Yeah, well, I feel like having that MVP, like bona fide MVP threat now with Brunson, and then having a four-time All-Star next to him, it puts us up with any best tandem, especially in the NBA out east. I feel like anywhere, and we saw like I feel full after seeing last night in terms of just the pick and roll clinic that those guys put on, and I feel like you said, I'm happy if this preseason just gets shut down in terms of like I don't need to see like that much more now. I just need to see these guys maybe build up their conditioning. Um, don't take it as hard because we want to be healthy. But yeah, I think the pick and roll, it's unstoppable with the shooting. But what was probably the most satisfying thing last night was the Mikal Bridges game, and just seeing, okay, like, yeah, we gave up a lot to get him, and it's like this is what this guy can bring now. He could get steals, he could score as well, and he could be the one half of the wing stop with OG Anunoby.
Yeah, Bridges is such a perfect fit, impeccable fit there. Um, Mike Francesa said it, when before the trade was going to happen, he said Bridges fit so exquisitely, and he really does, because for him, you don't really have to worry about getting the ball. He just kind of like finds the ball in transition. He gets steals. His defensive intensity is there. Um, and he doesn't. Yeah, he's great as a third option. And most people forget, but Bridges as a third option in Phoenix was really how he was most effective. He would shoot like 53, 52, 54% from the field, high 30s from three, 85 from the line, highly efficient, and he'd score like 15 points a game. And it was like he was a great fit, and he was super impactful. I think it was when he went to Brooklyn and then had to be the guy. His efficiency went down a little bit, right? He then would shoot like 44% from the field and 37% from three, and he could score a lot, but I think but it didn't lead to winning. So I'm less worried about Bridges' fit than any of the other guys. The one thing, I mean, just not to focus on any negatives, but in 2 games so far, I think OG, granted limited minutes, has not really offensively, shown much, but I know that he sometimes will have quiet offensive games. I think it'll be interesting to see now that he's got the big contract, making $42 million a year. It'll be interesting to see kind of how he's received. I think he's really well liked by the fans just based on his defense, but it'll just be interesting to see if he doesn't have great offensive production now that he's I guess the second highest paid player in the team. Be interesting to see how he's looked at.
Yeah, I think that's normal because if you look at it technically, he's the fourth option, and I think Bridges clearly second or third option, Cat second. But the great thing about what I've seen as well, Benji, is the passing. I think Cat will get guys involved. We saw a great cut that OG made, and Cat found him. Really instinctive passing, and I feel like that's how him and Hart should get their buckets. They're great at moving off ball. Yes, they're not going to be isolation, pound the ball. We're not going to go to them because they're the fourth and fifth options, but how they can get their easy buckets is once the defense is lacking on them and keying in on stopping the rest of the other guys, that's where those guys might have their 25-point nights where they just sort of go under the radar, like a Chris Bosh did in Miami, and maybe it was a night where, the defense was just all over LeBron and Wade, and it was just the third, fourth guy that can get loose. I mean, squads win championships, and I think this starting five, there'll be different nights. And I think OG's even said that in a quote recently. He said, look, I'm not worried because, I'm going to get my bucket somewhere. Um, so, yeah, how do you see that with Hart and OG, just sort of their role in the starting five?
Yeah, I think OG sometimes forgets, that he has offensive ability, and sometimes he has to kind of be like coaxed into getting the ball and to look for a shot. I really like OG, not only cutting, but I like him. He has a little move where he goes. It's kind of like a push off step back jumper, mid range by the foul line. He's really effective at that. Obviously, the corner three, which I really haven't seen him shoot many of those so far in the first 2 preseason games. But yeah, I think with him, he can be really impactful. But as we saw, like in Game 5 against, I think it was Game 5 against the Pacers, when he had the huge game, right? He had like 25 points, and he had a lot of points early. When he has big offensive games, we go to like the complete next hemisphere in terms of how good we can be. So although we don't rely on OG for scoring, he's capable of getting 27 points. He did it all the time with Toronto. He can do it. So he just sometimes needs to like be fed the ball and, let him like get his points in transition, let him get his points off cuts. Josh Hart, I think, will be the guy, like I mentioned, that will have the drop off just because he's not a natural shooter or a natural scorer, and he's totally happy just like doing the Josh Hart stuff of getting the loose balls, getting the rebounds, pushing the ball in transition, making the long outlet passes. But I am really impressed by Cat's passing. I know his assist numbers have been good in previous years, like as high as 5 per game. That pass that he made that you're alluding to in the Charlotte preseason game, where he threw the pass over the defenders, timed perfectly right into OG's hands, and OG ultimately got blocked. That was honestly one of the best passes I've ever. That was one of the best passes I've ever seen. I swear to God, I know it seems simple, and it's in a preseason game, but it was the smart vision that Cat had to throw the ball where he threw it at that given moment. Really impressed me. So, yeah, I have all the confidence in the world that our passing with Cat and obviously the rest of the team can get OG and Hart going. I did want to comment, and I don't know if this was always the case, but I don't remember watching Bridges and ever seeing his release being as pronounced as it is now. I don't know if that was always the case, but he has a really high release, and it's like almost looks like in the same way that like Markel Fultz had a weird release that was like really noticeable when he shot the ball. I'm seeing that a lot now with Bridges, and I'm wondering if that was anything that's become a little more pronounced because he's got a slow release. But
Yeah, I think a great role. And look, I'm not worried because it's going to take time for these guys to really carve out all their roles. I mean, it's funny how fans, they don't give out the championship right now, but they want us to be in, like playoff form. This is the start of a long journey and guys will find their roles. I'm not worried. But one role I could see Hart playing is like Marcus Smart role. I mean, on Boston, right? Not everyone can be scoring 30. Guys have to do the dirty work. I don't care if Josh Hart scores 0 points. You know, some people might be angry at that, but he doesn't need to score. It's just he just needs to shoot it when he's open. There's five guys that can all score in the starting five, right? If you look at the star Laker teams, it was Kobe, it was Shaq, it was Gasol, all of that, right? And guys just fit in. Yeah, guys just fit in around them.
right, like Robert Ory, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Robert
exactly.
Horry, and
Big
even
street.
when there was that team with Peyton, and when they had the like Dwight Howard and Peyton, the team that failed, right? That was just too many mouths to feed. So you do need guys that are okay taking a step back. You know.
Well, I think with Marcus Smart, despite his percentages being low shooting wise, he always made big shots. So I think Josh Hart, as we've seen, he's a big shot maker. Anytime you see Josh Hart dribbling the ball in a key situation in a playoff game at the top of the key, he's nailing that shot, and we've seen that time and time again. We saw that in the Sixers series. We saw that numerous times. We saw that like 3 times in Game 1 of the Sixers series in big spots. He just kept hitting top of the key threes. We saw that in the Cavs series the year prior in the playoffs in Game 1 of that series. So yeah, Josh Hart, not worried about him at all. If he scores 7 points a game and gets 8 rebounds and 3 assists and plays efficiently and plays his role, we can still be ultra successful. So I think not worried at all about that. But yeah, I mean, man, I'm just like I said, I wish the season started tomorrow because we still got another 2 weeks until we get to a little under 2 weeks until we get to the opener. But I went out today and I secured my Karl Anthony Towns jersey, so at least I know I'm covered. I had my Dante jersey, and I obviously had to retire that, and so yeah, I'm ready to go, man.
Nice, nice. I am too, man. Well, yeah, it's always great to talk, Benji, and obviously we'll hopefully link up throughout the season and continue to get your thoughts on how this season is playing out and these New York Knicks and the big journey ahead. Uh, is there anything else that you wanted to get out there?
Um, Yeah, I mean, no, not really, man. I'm super grateful to be on with you. I love the content. I love seeing guys like Berman that are out of the game now and to see what they think, like their objective thoughts on like the moves that the team is making. Obviously, the Bill Pito stuff. Just now that Bill did the play by play last night for MSG, so that was really great. And yeah, man, I love this. I just love breaking these, listen to breakdowns of these games and just hearing the X's and O's and all the stuff and all the passion. This is our time now. We got a 4 to 5 year window to try to get a championship. I think the last thing I'll say is I don't, as much as I want a title, I think this for me, the bar is we have to make the Eastern Conference Finals. We made the second round the last couple of years, and I think we now have to take it to the Eastern Conference Finals at minimum. We can obviously do more, and either way, man, we're just set up for success. So I'm super excited. I want to see. I think from now and then remaining in the preseason, I want to see TJ Warren get a chance. Because he came out last night, hit a jumper from the from he had a jumper from the near the 3 point line. Um, and I'd like to at least see the guy get a chance to play because that guy was an absolute bucket when he was on Indiana and on Phoenix and in the bubble in 2020 playoffs. He was just a great scorer. So I think it'd be fair to the guy for him at least to get a chance to see if he can crack a roster spot, even if he's an end of the bench guy. Outside of that, yeah, man, I'm super pumped to see this quality of basketball. It almost feels like not real because everything is so perfect right now. Like you don't have a single complaint about this team. It's just all orange and blue skies, as they say, man. And yeah, man, just keep doing what you're doing. And again, appreciate you having me. And ready to get going October 22nd for Boston's ring night. Ready to snatch that ring from them and win the title this year.
Yes, no doubt about it, man. That's going to be crazy, that game. It's going to be playoff vibes from the get-go. Baptism by fire early. And yeah, appreciate you for coming on, Benji, and sharing your insight, into the start of preseason and your thoughts on what's coming up as well. Let's talk soon. Have a great night.
Thanks, man. And for all those people who follow me and love Knicks content, when the Knicks win, I go take a walk. So if I'm at the game, I obviously walk out of the building, take my walk. But when I'm home, the Knicks are playing on the road. We win a game, I also take a walk, and that started during COVID times when we were all cooped up in our homes and just like when sometimes when you go through a Nick game, a particularly stressful one, you feel like you're in a torture chamber and you just sit thinking to yourself, I got to escape with a win, and you're sweating and you're just like, I got to get a win. And so that's kind of how that all started is let me win the game and then just take a walk, like to collect my thoughts and just celebrate the win. So like I said, I think I'm going to be taking at least 56 regular season walks, and then remains to be seen in the postseason. But I think we're gonna do big things this year, man.
No, no doubt about it, man. Yeah, keep dropping those videos. I love it as well. I
Thanks.
love the raw reactions, man, coming out of the garden. Yeah, they had that classic one, obviously, after the Philly series win as well, and and the Dante DiVincenzo as well. But new Knicks and new memories.
Speechless, man. Speechless after that one. I wanted to cry. I was tears of joy. So, man, I miss Dante, but on to Carl Anthony Towns, who's a great kid, by the way. I think he's a really good kid. I think he's got a bad rap for being soft and just some of the social media stuff. I think he's a real high character kid. I did a little bit of work with him like 5 years ago, and all signs pointed to him being like a super high character, nice kid, humble. So I can't wait for him to be a part of this franchise for a long time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, be well, and let's talk soon.
Thanks, CT, man. Have a great night,
Thanks.
guys.
Yeah, you
You.
too, man.
All right, bye bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, Benji, diehard Knicks fan, Knicks season ticket holder as well. Great insight and great to chat to Benji. I've known Benji for a long time in terms of, his passion and energy, towards the New York Knicks in the city. I'm going to continue streaming, and everyone, we're going to get to some questions in the chat. Let us know your thoughts on the Knicks start, the 2-0 start to preseason. the key talking points we'll continue to hit on, and I'm going to talk about some latest news that's just dropped today. Basically, regarding Mitchell Robinson, we already knew the sort of the timeline, but stuff's come out on ESPN. But the wash up to last night's ball game, right? And some stuff happening around the league. New York native Matt Ryan has been waived by the New Orleans Pelicans, right? His salary, I checked, is 2.1 million, right? So he's a stretch wing. He's a small forward. He might be a guy that the Knicks might have interest in. I haven't heard anything at the minute, but I mean, when I'm looking for opportunities, I do think that the New York Knicks they do look to strike while the iron is hot when it comes to that. So let me just bring this up on the big screen. But salute, guys, you're rocking with the best chat in the biz. Matt Ryan, he shoots 45% from three from with the Pelicans last season, right? Born in White Plains, New York. There is connections, ties there to the organization. He's earning 2.1 million, so I don't feel like him and Shamet can fit on the roster together under the squeeze. But that leads me to the news about Mitchell Robinson today, and look, this isn't really a prediction or a bold take or at all, but I really just have a gut feeling that the Knicks will make a move during the season, and I do feel like it'll most likely include Mitchell Robinson, but it's for different reasons. It's not for the obvious reasons. Nothing to do with Mitch's game, and it's actually not as much to do with Mitch's health. I think it's more to do with Mitchell Robinson's salary, right? The Knicks are only a mere few hundred thousand away from being hard capped, and a real fiscal frugal organization like the New York Knicks, they don't operate that way. They're not going to be hamstrung that much, right? So that is the main reason why I feel like a move will happen, right? Moving forward, there's only 14 guys on the roster, right? Most championship teams aim to have 15 guys. You need bodies. You're going to be in those deep wars in the postseason. And I think having that 15th guy on the roster is beneficial. And right now, we're hamstrung, simply put, financially. We can't fit a 15th guy on the roster because our salary number is just so high, right? So if you look at all the work Brock Aller does in guys getting discounts and signing guys to make everything fit, long term, I just don't feel like they're going to operate this way. Being only a few hundred thousand away from being hard capped. It's just too dangerous. It's too risky, and it just doesn't make sense based on what this organization has been doing. So nothing to do with Mitch's salary, nothing to do with Mitch's health, nothing to do with Mitch's game. I feel like it's mostly to do with the salary situation, and maybe shedding his 12 to 14 million and getting cheaper contracts on the books and getting more contracts. You could turn that into a couple of players. The Knicks have some center options coming down the pipe, I feel. So we'll see. They might trade him and someone else for a Valanciunas, try to get that number down. But what are your thoughts on that, guys? Also, we heard from we heard reporting from Stefan Bondy that when Cam Payne became a New York Knick, he went straight to JB just to make sure that there was no animosity over that playoff dust up. It's like, it's all love? Is it like all cool? So that was cool, man. I think, Brunson, obviously, playoff wars, he understands, but those guys did have a little bit of back and forth when it came to the postseason. So, you guys know all about that. So that was buried early. As I spoke on with Benjy, Pacome Dadier was supposed to make his long-awaited debut last night, but was unable to due to a finger injury. So unfortunate for the young kid. But look, he's one for the future, and I think he'll get his time eventually. But obviously Jericho Sims, and I did go back and watch the footage. Jericho did fall awkwardly, roll his ankle, and that's why Huck Porty got in the ball game. So there's a real possibility where, Huck Porty wasn't in the plans to play last night, but I feel like he took his opportunities now. And Tibbs said, I thought he played terrific. So, as reported, and you could see this in the video, the post press conference with SNY and Ian Begley reporting. Tibbs said, I thought Ariel Huck-Porty was terrific for the first game that he played in. His energy and anchoring of the defense was very good as well. So a lot of things to be pleased about, but he took his opportunities. And look, that's what the NBA is all about when it comes to that. Harlem World's in the building. What's up, Doug? Fresh. Johnny says, disagree, CT. Mitch Robb is the final asset to trade for a quality player like a Trey Murphy the third or a quality backup with that one. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. I feel like Mitch is not going to stay on this roster. But I feel like, it'll be to try to get the salary number down. I haven't looked at Trey Murphy's salary, but the Knicks are just so close to the second apron, just a couple of $100,000 away. So I think long term they'll be looking to shed some salary and try to get more depth on the roster. We've got a super chat from Eddie F. What's up, Eddie? Thank you. Appreciate you. Great to see you, man. CT, I think Mitch is shelved until they can showcase him before the deadline and then move him. I feel like they are done waiting on Mitch to become available. I think there is genuine concern in the front office, like based on what I've seen and read. They also really like Mitch. They know what he can produce, and so do we. It just comes down to situations, I think. Look, there's, fans of players and, bigger fans of certain players, but we traded Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. So I'm not going to be upset if Mitch gets traded. I understand what the front office's vision is, and I ultimately trust what they're trying to do, So I agree with you, man. I feel like they'll wait till he gets healthy, see how he looks and how he impacts us. But I feel like, if you just look at all the tradable salaries currently, he's making the most that's tradable. I mean, you're not getting, you're not trading Deuce McBride earning $4 million, right? You're just not going to get comparable value, and it's just not even worth exploring. Precious is earning $6 million, but I feel like his versatility is really important as well. He could play the 4 and the 5. And once again, you're not really getting back much. That's a difference maker, for $6 million. When you look at Mitch, 14 milli, 12 to 14 milli, you can really do something with that. So I don't think it's very unlikely that Mitch will be traded. I feel like it's more on the likely side, but of course we'll wait and see how that plays out. I like Mitch. I know he can be a force anchoring the defense. So it'll be interesting to see how the Knicks can juggle that. But once again, I put the priority ahead of that. The Knicks are just a couple of $100,000 away from being hard capped, right? They're not going to continue to operate this way for multiple seasons. I mean, I'm already a little bit like, I don't like the fact that we have 14 players on our roster. I think you need to get to 15. You need more bodies. Guys become available on the buyout, like, Matt Ryan. Like I said, different guys become available. TJ Warren, you guys would love him to stay on this roster, and so would I. But because we can only afford 14 players, we might have to let him go. Right? That's not a proper way to operate. Right? We had to let Marcus Morris go. He would have been amazing on this team as a backup depth. Shooting and scoring and the enforcer role, all those things. He's only earning $3 million, but because we're so financially restrained, we had to simply let him go. So I think the sooner the later they sort this out. There's talk about Marcus Smart. There is the talk about Valanciunas. I think Leon will continue to get aggressive. So I'm just gearing up for another move to play out. D Cool says this year looking good for New York City sports. Liberty, Mets, Knicks, Yankees. Let's go. Hey man, we just need the Giants and the Jets. We need the Rangers to make amends as well, too, fam. But yeah, shout out New York City sports. It's great to see them buzzing. Um, yeah, glad you could join us, Doug Fresh. Appreciate the support. Everyone smash that like button. Ask us any questions, right? We'll get to it right now, man. We started early. We heard from Benjy, who was in the garden last night, and it's feel good vibes right now. Um, let us know what your key standouts were from last night. But I mean, there was a lot of positives to take. Karl Anthony Towns getting his Nick Garden debut, getting into his rhythm. I thought OG and Bridges were great defensively, as a standout. Once again, I'm not worried offensively because I feel like, there's only going to be so many guys that are going to get their buckets. We scored 117 last night and Josh Hart didn't do anything. OG didn't really do anything offensively as well. So when it comes to that, we don't really need everybody to be scoring. It's just the way that the cookie is going to crumble in certain matchups, right? But the pleasing thing is as well from preseason guys is the bench. I think the bench has been definitely holding up strong. No Deuce McBride last night, but we didn't miss a beat. I thought Cameron Payne's shooting was excellent in terms of coming in and being aggressive. Right, Cameron Payne finished 4 of 6 from deep, 14 points. He filled in for that Deuce McBride role pretty well. And obviously Tyler Kolek, man. What can I say that hasn't already been said? 6 of 10, got the 5 assists, can score the basketball, could distribute as well. If I'm giving a grade for preseason for Tyler Kolek, man, it's got to be an A minus at least, B plus, A minus in terms of what he can do. Yeah, Huck Porty, he's got the skinny legs for him, definitely, but he's got some hops. He's just a huge guy. I think that's really going to help us in terms of rebounding and just give us that extra depth. It looks like we'll cut Okeke. I don't think he'll make the squad. He might play in Westchester with TJ Warren. Jake Toppin will stay on the final two-way spot, I think. But I think the final two-way, the final roster spot is Huck Porty's to lose, right? They might stick him out there against the Twin Towers for a couple of minutes just to see, and make that final determination. What do you guys see coming up against Minnesota? A great question from Buzzer in terms of what are the odds that Kolek supersedes Cam? I think Tibbs might be more open to playing more guys this season. I know some people disagree with that. Some people are quite adamant on a 9-man rotation, but I think it could be up to situations, in terms of, Tibbs will adjust, man. If campaign, who I think will start, will start off the bench in terms of getting that first opportunity. But if Cameron Payne isn't playing well, I think he'll definitely be open to switching things up. But I like what we've seen from the 3-guard alignments personally, whether it's Campaign, Deuce, and Shamit, or whether it's Kolek and Campaign together with Shamit or Deuce. I know it can be ultra small sometimes, but I really like the speed, the pace that those guys are playing with, and just getting easy shots, easy looks, because they can all spot up. So, like we saw last night, Kolek got to the paint and then pulled up for the mid-range, foul line extended. Cameron Payne also pulled up off the dribble. I mean, all preseason too. That even if he's a little inefficient, that is going to keep the defense honest. It's going to keep things going. I think we can't be hesitant when it comes to that. Also, those guys get after it. Cameron Payne, Landry Shamet, those guys have been really pretty solid defensively. I think being deterrents, just trying to be that pest. They lack the size, but I do feel like Payne, Shamet, even Kolek to a degree when he got the block the other night, you can't fault them for their effort. when it comes to that. So we will see how the next game plays out. That is going to be the most intriguing game of preseason for me, guys, is the Minnesota game, right? Obviously, it looks like Julius Randle may make his debut. Dante DiVincenzo has been playing well. He's definitely hit the ground running. And so it's going to be the closest thing to opening night, I feel. Because after that, it's a letdown again. It's Charlotte and it's Washington again. Good opportunity for the bench guys to get some more run, and maybe make some final roster decisions. But it's not going to be great for in terms of getting ready for Boston. So I think the next game is the most important game of preseason, man. It's quintessential that guys get their serious minutes. I think Karl Anthony Towns and Brunson will be playing in the fourth quarter against Minnesota. How does the pick and roll play out? Ant-Man, Rudy Gobert, and that, man, it's going to be a lot of emotions in that game. Bench versus bench. They've got Naz Reid. They've got, obviously, Dante. And they've got Jaden McDaniels there as well. It's going to be interesting, man. Conley versus JB, right? And like I said, if Julius Randle plays, man, OG is going to be matched up against Julius too. And of course, Rudy Gobert, man, is going to be paired up against Karl Anthony Towns. Man, I can't wait for it right now. Yeah, Wayne's saying Campaign will be the backup only because of his seniority line of thinking. Kolek, in your opinion, is better option, but I trust Tibbs. Yeah, with Kolek, I think there's plenty of time and he'll earn his minutes, when he's ready. And I feel like he is more ready now than people think. But it just depends on, how Tibbs wants to play the other guys, because he's still got Deuce, you've got Shamit. You are a little undersized and you can't play all of these guys. And so it's healthy options, fam, most definitely, when it comes to that. But look, Deuce McBride, I know he missed last night with the illness. That's not really something to worry about long term. He might play in the next ball game, hopefully. And I think he'll pick up where he left off, man. I think Deuce McBride is really this team's, fifth best offensive player. He's the 5.5 starter, basically the sixth man. Hart is there for different reasons. I know, yeah, some of you are making points about, loving to see Deuce start and Hart come off the bench. I think we won't see that, but I could understand the point. I can definitely understand how, you see that vision. But I feel like Mikal Bridges is that guy that's going to be playing with the bench. Hart is in there for different reasons. He'll do the dirty work because the other guys will need the rebounding help. Karl Anthony Towns and OG, we have lost some rebounding. So I think Tibbs will value Hart's rebounding with the starting five. But hey, he might make early substitutions, he has made early ones so far. He can get Deuce in there at the 5-minute mark and take Bridges off. And basically, like, Deuce is the fifth starter, and when Bridges comes to the bench, and Bridges runs the bench, once Deuce and the others, Deuce will stay in and the others come back out. Then you've got Bridges and Deuce as well. So I think there'll be a lot of key mixing and matching. Tibbs just needs a little bit of time to figure all of this out too. But we are going to blow a lot of teams out. We are going to get some early easy wins, and I'm down for it. Yeah, New Lord, no tribute videos early, I don't feel. Although it is in Minnesota, so I believe it's the Minnesota. Let me just check. No, it is at the MSG, right? It's at MSG, the Minnesota game. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think there'll be any tribute videos so far, but we'll see. What's up, Cardiac? Let's go. 2-0 start to preseason. I'm going to grade preseason so far a solid B+. I'm not getting carried away. It's a very small sample, but I like what I see. It's a B+. I think there's still some question marks over, guys looking a little rusty. OG Anunoby is one of them. Bridges has had one good game. A tough start in the first game early on. But yeah, I do feel like there will be more great performances as preseason goes along, man. As each game goes by, these guys are working well together, figuring things out as well. Uh, Once again, yeah, Benjy, pleasure is all ours. Let's get it on the next one. Have a great night, and let's go Knicks. Now, let me check if we've been through all the latest news that we haven't covered yet. So yeah, I like this one. So Mikal Bridges on OG Anunoby saying, I learned a lot from OG defensively in the last month. If I mess up, he'll come from anywhere. I'll just read and react off of him. So the wing stop from last night, fam. The Knicks with 16 steals, forcing 30 turnovers as well. OG picking up where he left off from last season, man. 2 steals. Bridges with 3 steals. Huckporty with 3. Kolek with 2 as well. So, and Carl Anthony Towns got 1 with Brunson and Payne and Achua. Right, so the Knicks got after it last night in the passing lane. A lot of wingspan depth. OG, Bridges, Towns. I mean, there's a lot of long arms. That's definitely going to get those deflections going. I feel like it, and I kind of feel like we were longer than Washington. They've got Koulibaly, they've got Kuzma, they've got some length. Alex Sarr, but we were longer than them when it comes to that. So yeah, I feel like Deuce is going to play 30 plus minutes. I feel like he'll be the early substitution and he'll play with the starting unit quite a little bit. But after an early sub, Bridges will come out, or it might even be Hart can come out, and basically Deuce can just be that early sub. So really, I mean, too much emphasis is actually put on who starts. It's really, what are the first substitutions like, and also who closes, man. Who's the closing lineup? Right? Does Tibbs resist closing with Josh Hart in favor of Deuce McBride to get that floor spacing to a maximum level? I feel like, but obviously you're going to lose some of that offensive rebounding prowess as well. So that is something that Tibbs is going to have to balance and figure out who he's going to close the lineups with. But to me, I think Tyler Kolek Sims could easily be that 10th guy. I think it just depends how it plays out. Precious is a lock. I think Payne Shamet is a lock. And I think Deuce McBride is a lock. That's your 9-man, right? I think Sims, whether it be Sims, Huckporty, and Kolek, right, it just could vary in terms of that 10th guy getting minutes into the season. But we don't have to play everybody. It's a long season. And those guys are going to get their numbers called if there's an injury. At the end of the day, right? Cameron Payne's been pretty solid in 2 games, and the fact that Tibbs has spoken so highly of him, and the fact that he's been quite featured in the training camp, right? I think the writing is on the wall that Cameron Payne is definitely in the rotation. I think Tibbs will value his energy, the veteran point guard off the bench, and then you can get Deuce McBride to the 2 as that shooting wing. And then Landry Shamet, they've also talked about, how much they like Landry. And quite frankly, I've been quite impressed with him as well. So we'll see how that plays out. And then, yeah, Precious is very versatile. And then you can basically slide in Bridges to be the small ball 4 with the bench units together with Deuce. And that gives him his reps that he needs. And if you want, you could play OG with the bench as well. You could play OG alongside Precious. And, after you sub Deuce in, OG can be the first substitute that you take out, and you keep Bridges with the starting 5. So I think that first substitution is the most key. Like Deuce will come in first as the 6th man, and either OG, Hart, or Bridges will come out, and they'll be a feature of the bench units as well. So we're as strong as people think we are, and the national media, man. Let's hear from Big Perk in terms of what he said, right? And Brian Windhorst as well, fam.
What was the knock that we had on Tibbs last year? right when guys start going down, because he didn't go deep into his bench. And when he looked and he needed those guys, they wasn't available because he didn't use them throughout the course of the season. So I think this right here, again, comes down to Tom Thibodeau trusting and believing that the players that he got could get it done.
Do you trust Tibbs to give them that confidence?
I mean, I played for Tibbs in 2008, 2009. He was an assistant coach, right? And people change over time. You know what I mean? People change over time. We all got to grow together. It's 2020.
It's just going to be very difficult for them to make trade moves because, again, they're $300,000 from the
That's
second
why I
April.
said
They
trust,
can't cross
Wendy.
it.
So, trust what he got.
Well, that might be the only option. But I think they may need some more time. So I know Perk's super excited about this year. It's more than just this year.
Yeah, you're seeing the Knicks as not just a one-year window here.
I think that's their play. I think if you look at the age of their players, the guys under contract, the fact that the Celtics will be facing with a walloping luxury tax bill next year when Jason Tatum's new max contract comes on and they don't even know who's owning the team, I think this is a multi-year play for the Knicks. But obviously, Mitchell Robinson's health is going to be something we're going to be keeping an eye on.
Yep, no doubt about it. New Lord suggests Achua and picks for Kessler at the deadline. I think that's something to monitor, man. But I think really we're fed up with Danny Ainge. You know, I feel like we're just not, you know, we're just not going to go back to that well. You know, I think Jonas Valanciunas with Washington is the more likely situation. I think his salary is very matchable. He's a CAA client. And it looks like there was those relationships in the summer as well as last night. You know, they linked up in the Garden with Rosas and Leon Rose. I think Valanciunas could be that option. Dealing with Danny Ainge, he's not going to sell Walker Kessler cheap, man. He wants two first rounders for Walker Kessler. So I don't see Leon Rose doing that. I think he'll try to do something that allows us to keep some of our more assets with the first round draft picks as well. But man, I mean, Mitch, the reports obviously just backed up what we already knew today. That is that he's most likely to debut in January of the season. Again, that is hopeful. That's nothing like that it's guaranteed. And so we wait, man, we wait. By then, we're going to have a clear idea of this team's identity. We're going to know how much we're going to need Mitch or how much we're doing okay. Defensively, we were completely fine last night. You know, we were playing against a lot of bigs, Alex Sarr and Valanciunas, I feel like. So we gang rebound. We got out in transition. And I feel like we held our own with the centers situation. Does Huck Porty factor in a lot more? I feel like there's a real chance that happens. We've got Jericho Sims still as well. I thought Achua has been solid defensively too, and so has Cat. What's up, nice and salute chat. Let's get it. 3 bites at the Big Apple, baby, says Khalid. Luke says Precious is playing for a long-term contract. Definitely. He's hungry. Tibbs, the big whisperer, I think is going to help resurrect Precious Achua's career because his stock is up. His stock is on the up. When he came from the Raptors, man, he wasn't even in their rotation, which is kind of crazy because, you know, the Raptors are a losing franchise that he wasn't even playing, you know, for them. So I feel like we'll see Daddy A. It looks like he has a little finger injury. We were going to see him last night, but it looks like we'll probably see him in preseason because they were planning to play him last night as well. So don't sleep on him. I'm not sleeping on McCullough as well. I feel like, you know, McCullough is a guy who's similar experience to like a Huck Porty, like, you know, multiple years pro college. McCullough is a defensive player as well. Tibbs will like that. But impressive from Cat last night, man. Stretching the floor here, getting to the rack as well, putting the ball on the floor. I was so happy last night breaking it down because I feel like Brunson is going to get the best out of Cat, man. He's going to be another all-star, another year, all-NBA team, I feel. And I feel like both of these two New York Knicks are going to be co-all-stars for us this year, man. Nice says, make a deal with anyone but Danny Ainge. The Knicks should blacklist him for with him doing any business. Absolutely, man. We should block his number, fam. He's a menace out there as well. We'll see how it plays out. D. Cool says Mitch wants to go back home if traded, so you know where he's headed. Yeah, I think that's a chance, man. I think that's a chance. It really is, man. I think it's more likely than not that Mitchie gets traded. But once again, for different reasons than some people think. I feel like it's not so much to do with his game or durability even. I think it's just financially. You know, the Knicks had to do the cat move because it just made sense for multiple reasons. You know, Randall's contract, and they needed a center. For Mitch, we are like so close to the second apron, and he's making the most salary that's tradable, you know, to help get our salary number down. But we'll see how it plays out. You know, he could get back healthy in January and we're rolling, and Leon Rose just decides, hey, let's just keep it intact for a year. We can always make a move in the summer and help get that salary number down. But it's all going to be about how healthy he can get. How do we look? You know, do we really badly need that center at his return, or do we, try to make a move for other guys? I feel like we can fit another wing off the bench. You know, whether it be a Herb Jones or a Trey Murphy, or a guy like a Bogdanovic from last season, that power forward or small forward gunner. You know, that could be a reason why TJ Warren, you know, is kind of close to the program. We might give him the camp deal. He goes to Westchester for half a season. And then when we clear up space, we could then maybe get TJ Warren back. That could be some gymnastics that the Knicks will be looking to do, man. We'll see how that plays out. Nice, is Huck Porty Kolek is looking more solid on a day-by-day basis. Yes, amen to that. Those guys were impressive last night, and I just want to see more of it. You know, great to see them contribute early and look ready. You know, credit to our coaching staff as well. You know, it's been a really successful training camp so far. I thought Summer League was pretty solid as well. Kolek, you know, really had a impressive Summer League, and I think he's carried on from that into preseason. So you know he's kind of been ready for a minute now. Huck Porty was pretty solid Summer League. He looks like to be slimmer and faster now, and he looks like he's got with the sort of schemes, and you know, being a lot more ready based on last night. I think Achua has been really solid as well. And then, yeah, Shamit and Payne have been kind of a pleasant surprise to me. And you already know what I feel about Deuce, man. I think he's been the standout after one game. Coach's best way to keep the salary down is to just not re-sign players. Yeah, that is an option, but then you've got to fill the minimum 14 spots as well. So let's say we let Jericho Sims walk. He's only on 2 milli, I think. So we're not going to save much there. But to your point, if we let Precious Achua go or we trade him, we can get that salary number down as well, too, fam, as well. But yeah, I think with Mitch, you just look at his track history, and it's just multiple seasons in a row that he just can't be available. So Leon Rose might ultimately factor that in, you know, when it comes to making a swing, right? We're hearing a lot of noise, you know, and I think where there's smoke, there's fire. You know, interest in Marcus Smart, you know, interest in Valanciunas. I think Leon will try to get Tibbs more veterans. I think that can, you know, have got the playoff history. I think is really important to Tibbs as well. Yeah, and knocking off Boston, right? Getting more guys that have been through the fire is going to be really key come postseason, right? I really like Precious Achua. I hope he stays long term. I think his salary number is good. If he's willing to take a, you know, a reasonable extension, I could see the Knicks being open to that. fam. But the Knicks are building options. We've got James Nagy. We've got Moses Brown now. I think we'll be sticking with Westchester. And we've got Ariel Huck-Porty, who we might, use more this season and use him to develop when it comes to that. So, yeah, like Richard says, man, I just said Moses Brown. I think he's a guy not to sleep on. He's got a lot of length. I'm going to bring this up like I posted last night, man. We had a look at Moses Brown. Let me ring this up right here, man. He is huge. Moses Brown, like 7'2". You guys can see on the big screen now. Moses Brown in the huddle coming out to the garden floor last night. And he's a big fella from the area. And I feel like, yeah, he'll be a staple in Westchester early. We'll see, man. But yeah, man, he's got like basically a clear head on cat, even. So I think he's about 7'2". Moses Brown. He's got potential. We actually had him. It was like a year ago, but I think we needed to free up the spot, and we cut him. We got him back, so that says a lot. That says something about how we feel about Moses Brown when it comes to that. But where there's smoke, there's fire, fam. And reported pre-game, Jonas Valanciunas talking to Leon Rose and Gerson Rosas, right? I mean, you got to read something into that, man. An opposing player doesn't just stand there talking to your president of basketball operations and your general manager, right? He's a CAA client, yes, but even so, when does an opposing player just stand there? It looks pretty friendly to me. How often do you see an opposing player talk to the other team's president of basketball operations and GM? They're on the sidelines too. There seems to be plenty of things in common that these guys have. There is already reports that the Knicks, preferred to get him, but after OG's salary, and his number, we couldn't find the money to fit him in. But obviously, we needed to make that trade to get Cat in. We had to shed Julius's contract. Things became possible after that. But Valanciunas, I think he'll be a trade candidate from Washington. I think they'll be looking to gut their roster and tank. And let's see how that plays out. He wasn't all that impressive last night. So, but for a $10 million, veteran flyer, I would take that chance. I think he would be solid insurance because you just never know. We have to see Cat at the 5 for an extended stretch to see how that all plays out. Shady with about Daddy, he was going to play last night, but he's banged up. So yeah, Tibbs wants to get him some looks, but Daddy had a finger injury and wasn't able to play last night. And so yeah, it's got nothing to do with Tibbs not wanting to play Daddy. He was banged up. Buzzer, do you think we trade Mitch for Jonas when Mitch gets healthy? I don't know if it's Jonas, but yeah, you could clip this up. I'm happy to be wrong, but I really feel like Mitchell Robinson's days are numbered. I feel like he will get traded, right? I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm not going to, duck around that. I think financially, I think for other reasons as well, but mostly financially, I think Mitch does get traded at some point. So I feel pretty strongly about it. Again, I might be way off, but that's just my opinion. Let us know what you guys think about it, fam. I think the dollar's got to make sense. This is a very fiscal front office. You've seen all the maneuvering they've done. I don't think that they like the situation that they're in, stressed up against the financial hard cap, with only 14 players. I don't think that's ideal, fam. We had to reject Marcus Morris. We had to turn away maybe TJ Warren. We might not be able to sign Matt Ryan, who would be a solid end of the bench player from New York. It's restricting our options, basically, being so financially capped with 14 players, right? Ideally, we could have our roster even more deep. And right now, Mitch is sitting there, unavailable. Wayne says Dadier's defense was impressive against Miller in the summer league. Yeah, I like Dadier's defense. Great point. And like Shady said, yeah, I like Dadier. I think he's a long-term prospect for us, but I feel like defensively he'll be more ready than his offense. I think early in his career he'll be a defensive kind of player. He's 6'9" now, and he showed to be solid defensively. Richard says, I agree, Mitch is gone on that. Coach says, I don't see a Mitch trade money-wise. Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. I feel like some options might open up as the season goes, but with Valanciunas, it's a case of it might not even be him. The Lakers are really, really interested in him. So, but shout out to Cat working on his game with big man coach Mark Bryant, the new big man coach in town, man. He's been working with Jericho Sims a lot in the summer as well. I think he's obviously been working with Huck Porty as well. He'll get to work with Moses Brown and maybe James Nagy in the future when it comes to that. And of course, Precious. So I think Cat's game last night was just impressive overall. Nothing that we haven't seen before, but to see it in a New York Knicks jersey is just amazing. Now, spacing the floor out, being aggressive, and making the defense pay. Noose says, can Sims play the power forward? He can, but I don't think Tibbs goes to that very much. In regards to Jericho Sims playing some power forward, I think he prefers Precious at the power forward spot, and then I feel like he prefers Sims at the 5 too. Also, congrats to the team, man. The GOATs, Breen, Clyde, as well, on their award, man. The 67th New York Sports Emmys. Right, legends in the building. Grateful to have them broadcasting our Knicks ball games. As we confirm, Moses Brown is with the squad now. Was there last night in uniform. He might even get some late minutes when it comes to later in the preseason. We've got Charlotte and we've got Washington still to play, right? But yeah, Kolek and Sims are my kind of 10th guys. I feel like Payne's got that shot early. Shamet, Deuce McBride, and Precious Achua. What do you guys think about that, man? Do you guys want to go 9, 8, 10? Who do you think are in your rotations right now? Right. For me, I think the starting 5 stays the same, man. It's going to take a hell of a lot for Tibbs to take Hart out of the starting lineup, man. It's going to take divine intervention for that. So it's not even worth debating. To me personally, Josh Hart will start. Right, that's not going to change. But what might change is the early substitution. It might be Deuce coming in early and Hart goes to the bench, or it might be the Deuce comes in early and Bridges goes to the bench to play with the bench unit. But yeah, when it comes to Hart, I think he continues to start, and I think Sims is on the kind of the cusp. Same with Kolek early, but after preseason, Tibbs just might not be able to, keep Kolek out. Even if it's for 6 minutes, I like those lineups of campaign with Kolek for their 3-point shooting, even at the point guard spots. They can both pull up as trailers and they can pull up off the dribble. And that is really good for your floor spacing when it comes to that. And also we know Deuce Miles McBride can spot up as well. And we know Shamet moves well off the ball. Richard says Brown is already better than Sims. One thing's for sure, man, the knives are out for Sims after last night, man. I feel like it's a little harsh. He's had opportunities. I think we're going to need everybody this season, but this just might be Sims' last year as a New York Knick, He doesn't have a contract after this year, and he has to take these opportunities that he gets as well, because other guys might be coming, man. These guys might be coming to take his spot. it might not even be in his control, right? If we make a bigger trade, if Mitch gets healthy, that's your center rotation already done. Cat and Mitch, or Cat, Precious and Mitch alternating. Huckporty might even be, situational as well. Yeah, good point by Coach. We have the 14 guys, but we also have the 3 two-ways. But, in sort of normal circumstance, the two-way players aren't players that Tibbs generally, trusts. Jake Toppin, McCullough, we'll see. Huckporty is obviously on one right now, but he might get the 14th spot. But yeah, we did talk about it last show. Reporting Ian Begley is at the New York Knicks, actively searching for a two-way player, I think, and it might just be Moses Brown. Bam. It might be Huckporty gets the 14th spot. Moses Brown takes his two-way. Dorkosaurus, do you think it would be good to have Precious start over Hart situationally versus taller teams? Think an emoji. I think, certain teams, but there aren't that many teams that can really hurt us, with size. I think the Minnesota one is going to be interesting, but it's now Julius and Rudy Gobert. It's no longer the Twin Towers with Cat and Rudy Gobert. Boston, Tatum's going to be at the 4, and they've got Horford or KP. So I don't know if we need to go that big. It could be against maybe one team or a couple, but I don't think it'll change up that often, fam. I feel like I can already see the writing that Hart is going to kind of be that, the punching bag of the starting 5. I don't know what Hart has to do, what more he has to do to the wider fan base that, to understand what his game is and get more respect, I guess, because last season he showed in the postseason what he does. It's not going to be pretty all the time. It's not going to be scoring. But I think to play with the other 4 guys, I think it complements what we need is a guy that'll just push the brake, be that pressure valve off Brunson and Bridges, be that third creator, and cut and move and just be that menace, right? Just be that glue guy, that menace out there. There's going to be a lot of nights where he scores maybe 0 points. Maybe he scores 5 points. But yeah, his game isn't to do that. It's to help rebound, defend, and just be gritty out there as well. I think you need to balance the lineup out. We've got a lot of kind of softer players. We've got a lot of shooters. And so we need a guy that's just willing to mix it up. What's up, Mike? Huckporty did a great job just being big. Sims can't jump, but can't get off. Can jump, but can't get off the ground quick enough to be a force defensively. And Huck looks solid, says Mike. Yeah, I agree with you about Huck. In terms of he's a kind of Tibbs center, and that's what I reported when I scouted him last year, right? I tweeted it out September last year. Once I scouted Huckporty live, I said he's a Tibbs kind of center, and I knew that the Knicks were scouting him, and the Knicks were interested, and so it's kind of like it's serendipity that he has ended up here, and the Knicks do value his skill set. So we got a great one, man. We got a great one for the future. I think Ariel Huckporty, I'm really fascinated to see what they do with his contract, because if you do convert Huckporty to the 14th spot, the clock starts ticking on his contract, on his rookie contract. So in my opinion, they better come with a good contract. They better give him like a Jericho Sims or a Mitchell Robinson type contract, like a 4-year deal on the cheap, or a 3-year deal with a team option, just in case he ends up being, a legit rotation player. If you sign Huckporty to a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal, you run the risk of then, basically losing him financially in the future, I think, with our tough situation. So I think that's what they might be looking at. They might be taking their time just to work out what kind of contract they're going to give him. And it does look like he'll probably get that 14th spot because he can fit. He can fit under the salary cap that we're at with Landry Shamet, I think, together on that one. We've got Ewing in the building too, like Dorkosaurus says. Absolutely. Let's get it. We've got Mark Bryan, of course, too. Yeah, how you guys feeling after preseason, man? I'm buzzing. I give the preseason a B+ so far, but we're definitely going to be coming with some stronger takes after the Minnesota game, because I feel like that's going to be the closest warm-up before Boston. Jet Life for Life, salute. What's good with you, fam? Hope you're well. It's good to see Bridges. He was maybe lost in last night's sort of successes because, Cat looked amazing with Brunson in the pick and roll. But I thought, Bridges was clearly the first, second, third best starter in terms of he was ahead of OG and Hart. And his Garden debut, and he just looked like the Mikal Bridges that we know from Phoenix. Getting the steals, shooting it well, and just being really, really active, getting in, locking down the Washington guys. They're going to really struggle, Washington, but we made them struggle. That's the thing, man. Bridges got to the line 4 times, picked up 3 steals, plus 21, 16 points, and an efficient 6 of 11, 54% from the field, 75% from the line. Now he's just got to obviously be more efficient from 3, which I think he will once he gets more of those corner looks. Richard, we've got a lot of players underrated. A lot of players that are underrated, I feel. But that's cool because I think the outside people don't always see what the Knicks do, and there's a lot of lazy takes from the media in terms of the Knicks' depth and all of those things. People talking about Philly, surpassing the New York Knicks and all of those things with the off-season moves. But I think, a lot of people are still sleeping on the New York Knicks. But a lot of people are also singing our praises too. So with the Cat and the Brunson sort of versatility that we have now, and potentially foreshadowing us as the best offense in the NBA, right? I see the vision from last night, man. Cat, man, he's a dual threat. Post up, perimeter. He can also pass from the block. So shout out. But Huck Porty was the big pleasant surprise from the second game of preseason in the absence of Sims due to the ankle roll. Dadier also injuring his finger. But Huck Porty took his chance, man, in 16 minutes. He finished with 7 points. He finished with 4 rebounds, man, and he got 3 steals as well. He was active in the paint, and he's just the big body that we need, man. He could be that backup third string depth that we need this season, man. Who said rookies don't play? I'm kind of tired of that narrative right now because I think it's false. I think Tibbs will play whoever can help win. He played Deuce McBride in his first season. He played Emmanuel Quickley in his first season. I remember Quickley had the 30-point performance in Portland. Quentin Grimes, he found minutes for him early in his career as well. If you can contribute to winning, you'll get on the floor somehow. But obviously there's different types of rookies, as I said last show. There's your Frank Ntilikina's and Kevin Knox type rookies, where you're 18, 19, and you're underdeveloped physically. You're just underdeveloped against physical grown men. But there's other rookies where you're 22, Huck Porty, playing pro overseas, and 23, Tyler Kolek, playing 4 years of college. Right. So there's different levels to that, different levels to being a rookie, man. I mean, you only have to watch Kolek for 2 minutes to see that this isn't a typical rookie, man. He takes the guy off the dribble, confident shooting. Defense has been okay. Obviously, it's going to be his weakness, but it hasn't hurt us so far. and I feel like he's been helping run the offense. But one way to circumvent some of the shortcomings is to play him with another point guard, whether it's Deuce, you play him alongside Cameron Payne, and you can have that dual point guard threat. Fam. Dual playmakers. Here you see Cameron Payne, right? Kicks it to Precious, right? Gets it back out, Huck Porty, pick and roll. And there we go. I think the defense won't know what's coming when it comes to multiple playmaking, right? See, Precious can pass. Huck Porty, nice dribble handoff, and then rolls to the bucket. I think this bench unit can really develop some great chemistry. Yeah, I like Cat's ability to get to the line. I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. Hopefully he just doesn't fall over, though. He has a tendency to just fall over a bit. Jay says that was a rebuilding team, though. This is totally different. Tibbs ain't playing no rookies except in garbage time. We'll see, man. We'll see. I think throughout the season, it's a long season. What I'm saying is I'm not predicting opening night or nothing like that. But some people are like saying all season that these guys aren't going to get any minutes, right? As if the players won't earn their minutes, throughout training and all of that. And injuries and things like that happen. But based on preseason so far, man, he's found minutes for Kolek in both games as sort of an early substitution in the second half. But he's taken his chances, so I feel like there's a chance. Richard says, don't really see Huck as more than a third string. Okay, Brown, however, is better than both sides of the ball, and it can be a legit spot starter. Yeah, I'm high on Brown, but look, the Knicks had a look at him before, and he has bounced around the league a bit. So I think, yeah, we'll see. It'll be fascinating to see how that plays out. But I do think Huck Porty is ahead of him right now in terms of talent. Maybe not in the eyes of Tibbs, but I think with talent. What's up, Keyshawn? Says, I swore Tibbs played IQ as a rookie and Grimes as a rookie. Yeah, no doubt about it. That's exactly the point I was trying to make. If you can defend, I think Tibbs will find a way. I know we're in a different situation, but in terms of injury, spot minutes, situations, I think he might be more open to playing guys now. But we will see, man. It does look like Cameron Payne is ahead of Kolek, so that one is something to factor in. Huck Porty is just active. I don't know if he can be a factor more than 15 minutes a night, but I feel like at least he's someone there we can, have as an endurance as the season plays out. Keyshawn says, would I trade Mitch for Kevon Looney and Moses Moody? Yeah, absolutely, man. No doubt about it. I would trade Mitch for Valanciunas. Personally, I would trade him for one of the wings in New Orleans, if we can go that route. I just think availability is the biggest factor, and it's a concern for me. Yeah, different time. The team was developing. Now we're in championship mode, says Jay. Yeah, appreciate all the comments, fam. Just because I might disagree, I respect everyone's opinion on this thing, and keep letting us know your thoughts, guys. Great, healthy conversations we have. Yeah, and yeah, it's going to be. Some of these things, time is just going to reveal all. We've only seen 2 games in preseason, but I feel like we're going to get to know a lot more in the next game. I feel like he's going to cut back some of the rotation a bit against Minnesota. We'll see. But injuries might cause a change, because Dadier was going to play last night, as Tibbs did confirm. That was something that he just suggested, man. He didn't even get asked. He's like, yeah, Dadier was planning to play, but he had a finger injury, so yeah, he wasn't able to suit up. So look forward to seeing more Dadier in preseason, because he might not get many opportunities you know, but it's probably going to be against Charlotte and against Washington. I don't think it's going to be in the next game. I think those guys will be going full out. But do you guys think Julius is going to play? I know Dante will probably play, and I feel like Julius might play, might make his Garden debut, fam, with Minnesota. Yeah, overall, I like our squad, man. I like our squad. It's just a shame we had to let go some depth. Ideally, I would keep Hakporty on a two-way, and ideally, I would sign 2 more veterans if financially was possible, and that is maybe keeping Marcus Morris and keeping TJ Warren, fam. Could you imagine, as I bring this up right now, just for argument's sake, could you imagine if we weren't pressed up against the second apron as much as we were, and we could afford 2 more veterans on the roster to get to 15 men, right? You keep McCullough, Toppin, and Hakporty on their 2 ways as well. They could be insurance if we need, but you could add 2 more players. You know, imagine if we had TJ Warren with Shamet and you keep Marcus Morris, right? That's a bench, ladies and gentlemen. That's a bench. If you keep TJ Warren and you keep Marcus Morris with all of these other guys on screen, all of them, that's a real bench. That's depth. That's options, man. There'll be situational guys that deserve minutes that would be situational for the season, but that's okay because we've seen what it happens. You know what it's like in the postseason, and you know bodies get banged up and things like that. So again, that leads me to why I think Mitchell Robinson will get traded. I feel like there's a lot of options that the Knicks can play with. They will be able to get maybe more bodies on the roster. They might even be able to get a player that they've been looking at for a long time. I do know that they like Mitch. It's just, we know in the front office, there's a lot of like differing opinions. There's a lot of debate between William Wesley, Tibbs, Gerson Rosas, Brock Aller, and Leon. They don't come to consensus a lot of the time. It's like one guy saying this, the other guy saying that, and Leon Rose does make the call right now, but there does seem to be a bit of smoke around some of these veterans with Marcus Smart, Valanciunas, and these other guys too. So we'll see, man. I'm excited though. We'll be live obviously Sunday night after the Minnesota game, but we'll be live again either tomorrow or Saturday to chop up the latest. Any latest news coming through, we'll be there to talk about it, guys, with you all. The best chat in the biz. Let's go Knicks. Smash that like button. We've got the Knicks streets buzzing. Thank you for the super chats tonight and the contributions as well. All the questions in the chat. Let's get it, guys. You guys are the best, and I'm excited for Minnesota. I'm excited for that game, and I think it's going to be a dress rehearsal for the real thing. Charlotte and Washington, I think we might, play Moses Brown a bit. We might empty the bench. We'll see, like Benjy said in that final Washington game. We'll see how that plays out. But you got to be ready, man. Boston, Indiana, Cleveland, Miami, man. The first 4 games of the season. The lights are bright in that one, man. The lights are bright in the first 4 games of the season, man. What's going to happen if the Knicks cause that win, that upset, and destroy the ring ceremony of Boston on opening night, right? It's going to be insane. Oh wow, Benji's in the chat let us know Moses got waived. Okay, so yeah, it looks like Westchester, fam. I think he's headed for the Westchester Knicks. So yeah, it was an Exhibit 10 camp deal, just to give him. I think they could give him 150,000. I think 150,000 to stay with the G League squad and watch him develop. So we'll see how it plays out there. But yeah, I wasn't expecting him to make the cut on that one. I think Chuma Okeke will probably get cut as well, and probably TJ Warren, unless a trade happens sooner than later. But Benjy, appreciate you still with us, rocking out in the chat as well. Talk to Benjy for the first half of the show on his impressions and thoughts of this preseason and this squad so far. And what a season it's set to be, guys. And let's have fun this season. Right, let's talk soon. Peace, everyone. Have a great night.